And we're live. We're live. And there seems to be quite a lot of comments already. And yeah, someone's been banned already, I see. Never mind. Anyway, good evening. Good evening. There's a few things I want to get through this evening, obviously. And there's not been much Celtic news about today. Rather the fact that the big news is obviously we're playing tomorrow, and that'll be an interesting game to watch tomorrow afternoon. So tell me your thoughts about that. Let's get some of the comments first of all. And first of all, we'll start with Gareth, and then we'll get into the Celtic news. There are 59 people online so far. Hopefully we'll get a bit more on tonight. So Gareth says we should not give the Dirty Hands a ticket to paradise, which is very true. So what do you think about this morning's news video? That news was dropped by Celtic yesterday. I think it's going to be interesting how that plays out over the next couple of weeks. Right, let's get some more comments. And first of all, good evening, mate, says Jelly and Ice Cream Van. Helen, good evening. Hail, happy Friday, everyone. Let's see. Hail from Bulgaria. Again, Patrick's in tonight, again from Bulgaria, which is always fantastic. How is Bulgaria coping these days? Patrick, tell us in the comments. It's always good to get different Celtic fans from all around the world. So obviously the thumbnail is the Brazilian winger Tete, who was at Leicester last season, and Brendan took him there on loan just before he got the bullet. To be fair, I never really seen him play at Leicester. I think he had a couple of good games. He had a first good game, and then he kind of went a bit off colour. But then Leicester were going down. So can you take anything from the fact that Tete was at Leicester and they did go down? Or should we just take it the fact that Brendan knows he's a good player? He was valued at 25 million. So if Celtic were now to go in for him, you would basically only be paying his wages. There wouldn't be any transfer fee. Do we need another winger? Tell me your thoughts with that in the comments. Let's jump back to some of the comments and see what folk are upstate New York bringing up from the US of A. Let me just see. It's in the rules that we've got to offer some tickets. 2 would be good. Talking about the Sevco tickets, I would give them nothing. Joseph says, hail, Baz, another good night of chat. Yes, there will be. The missus away with our mate, so peace and quiet. Wish me the dog. John, hail from upstate New York. What is New York like at this time of year, John? What is the weather like? Good, tell us in the comments. It's fantastic. We've got Bulgaria, we've got upstate New York and the good old USA. Looking forward to the Wolves game tomorrow. I'm looking forward to the game also. I will be down at Paddy's Point for that. Mark Thompson says hail from a Moz house. And Barry Smith says, hi Barry, hail. The Tete contract, Shakhtar Donetsk player. Yeah, he got his contract ripped up. That'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Brendan was a big fan of him when he was at Leicester. To be fair, Brendan only had a short period of time to work with the player. He's the type of player that could come in and help dominate games. It would be easy for him, and if we got him for a season or two, it'd be fantastic. But do we need another winger? This is with the players that we've just brought in. Will Brendan be happy enough with the players that he's brought in? That'll be interesting. We're still waiting on the big marquee signing that we're all promised. But I don't know. There's still 5 weeks to go, and 4 weeks now to go in the transfer market. So we'll see what happens. Matt says, if Rangers, Hearts and Aberdeen want to reduce their allocation, let's boycott them completely. I think it'd be silly to boycott them completely. Definitely boycott the Sevco game, the Rangers game, purely for the fact of safety, the grounds of safety. Do you know what I mean? You've got to think back to the images, and in this morning's video, I put up the images with the broken glass. So somebody's purposely smashed a bottle on the terrace, and then they've thrown the pieces of the bottle onto the pitch during half time, which is ridiculous in this day and age. Absolutely ridiculous. And the fact that the stewards never seen it happening, nobody's seen anything happen, do you know what I mean? And they're all walking about the pitch before the game restarted. But I don't really want to talk about them tonight. Anyway, Lovett says, hail, everyone. Hail from sunny Lurgan. Hail, hail, everyone tonight. Let's get in some more of the comments. And a few times. Let me just see. Oh, a few times here in Bulgaria. That's good. That's good. Have you got a Celtic supporters club there in Bulgaria, and you all go to the pub together to watch it? That'd be interesting to find out. That's always good to hear that. James says, "Hail, hail, hail, hail from Dublin." Dublin tonight. Love the channel. Let's get that back up. Yeah, there's going to be. I wonder how many fans are going to make the trip tomorrow. I know there's one guy running 6 buses from Belfast down. I know a guy in Dublin that's running a couple of buses, so it'll be interesting to see. 1 or 2 more signings, and we're golden. Aberdeen and Hibs to fight out for second place. That would be interesting. I'd actually love that, and it would put them back down where they should belong. They certainly don't deserve to be second anyway. Hail, hail from Dumbarton. John McCulloch says he's roasting. Stuart Ramsey says, hail, hail from Dull West Midlands. Happy Friday. Azerbaijan, Jerry's in the house. Whoop, whoop. We need another goalkeeper and a defender to challenge Taylor. Absolute suicide by the SPL teams. It was something I asked this morning, and it's maybe not suicide by them. I mean, a lot of the clubs will reduce their costs, and they'll reduce what they need to pay to police Scotland when Celtic come calling, but I think it's an absolute nightmare by them. I think it's silly. It does nothing good for the game. But anyway, we're here to talk about players that are coming in, or possibility of coming in, and Celtic transfer news. Port Chop says once Hearts had really realised that Celtic would beat them with 0 away fans or 20,000 away inside their ground, they'll be losing money. I think it's one of these crazy things when clubs are looking to spend money and try and improve the level of the league, and the fact that they're not letting in away fans for TV purposes, I think it does more damage than anything. Stuart Carey says, I think we need another winger. Do we need another forward? 25 million for a player that's free, get him signed, even if we could sell him on at 10 profit. Yep. So the news is that obviously a player that was with Brendan last season at Leicester, I think Brendan took him there on at Christmas time, I think it was, and he's basically had his contract ripped up. I think he's ripped it up, and he's stated FIFA rules due to the ongoing thing in Ukraine. He's obviously been at Shakhtar for a while, but there he's basically getting to rip up his contract due to FIFA legislation. He was there in January window, and it said that he could be joining Brendan Rodgers again. But the thing is when Brendan Rodgers had him, he had a cracking first game by all accounts. It was valued at 25 million just at the end of last season and the sort of Christmas time. You know, if you could land a player of that caliber, is he as good as Jota? I don't know. I've never seen him play myself. Has anybody watched the Leicester games back then when he was there? When he was at Lyon, he scored, I think he had 14 goals or assists. I think it was 21 assists. I'm not sure. He is an effective, he is a good wide player. But is it somebody we really need? This is the thing. But he was at Leicester. Let me see what Brendan thinks. And I think if Brendan really wants him, Brendan will get him. It's whether the wages he was on. If he was a £25 million player, he was probably on a lot more than 50 grand a week. And I think our limit now is around about 60 grand a week. So we'll see if we get him. He is considered a marquee signing, says Mark Brown. I think that is true, Mark. If we were to get this type of player, would it excite the fans? You've got to remember, nobody knew who Jota was before Jota came in, and we got him on loan from Benfica, and he was just a young guy, and he was absolutely fantastic. So let's get some more of the comments. Tony says, hail, hail from North London. Liam Forbes says, how's tricks, bro? We need a decent signing, hail, hail. I don't think we need a decent, it's definition of decent signing. think if we were to get the Croatian keeper and him, that's it. Just we don't need anybody else. I think if Celtic were to pull a rabbit out, you've got to look back for Rocky. I mean, Rocky came in, and it was only 3 weeks ago that the player knew that Celtic were interested. So Celtic have obviously been doing their due diligence on players, and they tend to move quite quick. And the whole Rocky deal came out of nowhere, came out of absolute nowhere. So if we can pull rabbits out the bag the way that they did with that deal, I'm more than happy with it. If Brendan likes him as a player, and if as a player we can get in, and he's a wide player and he could do a job for us, do it. And if we can sell him on within a season, just like we did Jota, it could be a fantastic piece of business. And Brendan and the board will be able to sell it on that basis. They will sell it on the basis that, look, you're a free agent, come Celtic, you'll get Champions League football this year. There's every chance that you're going to win the league. There's every chance that you're going to get some medals. You're going to get some recognition around about Europe. And then you'll get your bumper pay deal and a move to another club with the help of Brendan and Celtic. So, it is the way we're at. But if we can get them for free, it would be a good piece of business. Fill the grounds. Yep, we don't need to give tickets. No more wingers, a left back, and another striker in the form of a target man. Is O not the target man that we really need to see more of? Have we seen enough of O? Is he a big enough target man? I don't know. The Catholic rebel here. I stay in a Catholic country, mate. So, Liam, we're all Catholic rebels in this country. It's fantastic. Any more news on the big Croat keeper? No, it's went a bit quiet. People were suggesting that news from Croatia saying that it wasn't going to come to Celtic, but I've had a dig around and I've not managed to find anything. James was going to say, evening boys and girls, we were promised a star signing, or were we all just hoping? I don't think anyone actually came out to the club and said that we were going to have a star signing. What people did say was there was going to be signings that would be more ready for the Champions League. And I think that's what we were all concerned about. The fact that we've brought in 5 players and they've not been they've not been players that are going to make. You never know. These players might come in and make a fantastic difference to the club and to the playing squad. So commenting on players that we don't really know a lot about, nobody knew anything about Tete. Tete is now a player that we dread losing. So if the players that have come in from South Korea can be of that. And what about the fact that Rocky's actually carrying an injury? That's something that Celtic kind of kept quiet also. That came from his old team boss, and that's why he wasn't in training. So no Sevco at Paradise. Hearts a bad for safety as well. Hearts away isn't as bad as what it used to be for safety, because they used to take the little corner sections out. I think it was worse when we got the 2 full stands. Coins would come flying over. Hello from Bonnie Whithorn. Probably just hoping. Hail from sunny Belfast. Are you going down to the game tomorrow from Belfast, Patrick? Tell us that. Hi from Bournemouth. Hail. Barry, do you reckon that we'll get this guy Tete? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Brendan was. Brendan said he was a good player, but you never know. It comes down to the mindset of the player as well. The fact that he's got his contract ripped up. Our previous experience with players that tend to go down that route, you have to look back at sort of Di Canio, Cadet, and Van Hooijdonk. They were players that were a bit disruptive. I think if he is disruptive in any way, Celtic should stay clear of him. But you don't know. It could be just the fact that he's trying to get a move and nobody's trying to come in. You don't know. You don't know what's going on in the guy's head. Sorry, Baz, totally agree that if you want to ban our fans from away games, we have every right to ban theirs. Yes, we do. And I've said that believe me, I'd like nothing better than never see a Rangers fan at Celtic Park again. But for what it does to the game, I think something has to go at some point. And I mean, Sevco, they've nailed their tie to the mast, their flag to the mast. They've said, look, 700 or nothing. We want the 700, and we'll see what happens. Right, and the next one is Pork Chop. Nobody in my knowledge ever promised a huge wad of cash to spend, although they would like it to happen. If it never happens, the board is only give and take. The fact that we've spent 10 million already, Proud Boys, am I ignoring your comments? No, I've not ignored your comments. That's the first one that I've seen. I'm just skimming through the comments. I'm not looking at them on YouTube. I'm looking at them on StreamYard. So sorry if you think I'm thinking in your comments, but I'm not. Yeah, I think we've spent 10 million already. We knew that we were going to spend around about 30 million this summer. That was before Jota was sold. Now, if we could take a percentage of the Jota money, we should still have 30 million, say, to spend. Are we going to go then spend 10 million on a player, 15 million on two players? You don't know. We're going to spend 9 million on a goalkeeper. I wish we bloody would, because that would just be an absolute. It would give us that peace of mind that we've got a keeper that's truly world class. I mean, for what he did at the World Cup, the Euros, and what he did with his team has just been fantastic. And if we can get him, it's going to be brilliant. Barry Smith says, I take another left winger, Tete for sure as a class player. Let's scalp that mob. James Names has got invited to the Bun Pod. Wind up started. Hi Barry, hail from Uphall, West Lothian. Nice part of the country, Uphall. Is that not where the Bunker used to be? The Bunker nightclub. That was out that way, wasn't it? Uphall. Used to go under the bridge to go to it, I'm sure. Maybe don't know the Bunker nightclub back in the 90s, where all the old raves were. Anyway, Mark Brown says, why do we have a governing body if they did not govern it? Waste of time. When it comes down to the fact that they refused to put Cringe up, who were the sponsors of the league, I think they should have been punished for that. They get away with absolute murder ever since. After their liquidation, you'd think they would have learned, but they've always had a chip on their shoulder about liquidation, and they've said that we were put down the leagues. No, yous were liquidated and died. Anyway, we're moving on for them. We need a keeper, says Liam. Get that lad all day, says Sophie. I've got something crisp beforehand. I never seen him play at Leicester, so I'm not sure how good it was. I wouldn't give him COVID. We need a left back for Europe. Goalkeeper. Tony, I've had this. I've commented on this so many times since he got the 3-year contract. Giving Bain a 3-year contract to sit on the bench is bizarre, to say the least. But there's something must have went on in the background of Celtic. Something must have went on with Siegrist for them to get a bit panicky and go, well, if Siegrist leaves and we get rid of Bain, there's only one keeper. And then they've put young Toby out on loan, I believe. So, yeah, there's obviously something going on in the background of Celtic that we're not privy to when it comes down to that type of thing. What's happening with the keeper? I have no idea what's happening with the keeper. It said he played for Zagreb the other night. And that's it. That's all we know so far. Matt says 18 million for Jota, 5 million for Ange, plus the Champions League money. It was a bit more than 18 million for Jota. It was near the 26 million. Surely we can buy a couple of big signings. For what I've been reading from a lot of other bloggers around Europe, everyone's saying that the transfer market just now seems to be at a sticky stage. It's a bit everybody's holding off to see, and I think what it's going to do, and especially in the European market, it's going to start bringing the prices down of players. I mean, there was an expected financial crisis meant to happen this year, which didn't really happen to the extent that they thought. Clubs are making profits. Celtic made a massive profit. So I think clubs now are just trying to get a bit better value for money. So I think you'll get a lot of activity in the last 2.5 weeks of the transfer market. So that will be interesting to sit and watch. Hail from sunny Coat Bridge. I can't wave. I think, going back to the transfers, you're at a funny part of the season where a lot of clubs have only started back last week in training. So you'll get managers come in, they want to just see what players are there before they know the type of player they're looking for. obviously the big deals have went through already. Some big deals have went through, but the players that we're kind of looking at, the level that we're looking at, there'll be a mad rush the last 2 weeks of the transfer window, I think. We have 35 players, says Mark. Yep, the squad is far too big. Everybody agrees that, and even Brendan said that there's going to be players leaving. I thought there would have been a bit more activity with players going out the door this week on loan, but it's not happened. Mark Thompson says we need a keeper to develop. A target man is what we need. Again, is what define a target man? It always meant to be the target man that we brought in. So is O that target man or not? Has he had the chance? Tired of all the rumours and players that we've been linked to. Exactly, love it. The players that we've been linked to are the ones that we haven't bought. When you look at Rocky, we weren't even rumoured with him, and we basically signed them just like that. So things can move very, very, very fast with Celtic in the transfer market. There'll be a lot of things going on behind the scenes, a lot of conversations, a lot of phone calls, and it's just going to be a case of you'll hear nothing, and then you'll hear we've got this player for X amount of money. But then again, who knows? Bernabe, there's a player that should do well this season. Hello, mate. Hail, hail. Do you think we need another left back, or can Bernabe improve? I think Bernabe's still got a lot to improve. It's interesting that Celtic brought in a female from Argentina. I wonder if there's any link there. Just to settle the player down. I think Brendan will get his hands on him and make him a better player this season for definite. Do not need a striker, says Mark. That's an interesting one. Hail, hail. I'm new to the channel, says Ross. Welcome to the channel, Ross. We do lives every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. And then you'll get your Celtic morning news every morning, and then an update in the afternoon. Hail, hail. Ross, the speculation is frustrating now. So, talking about everything Celtic, I'm sure this report came out a few weeks ago, but the papers are regurgitating it, which means it must be a kind of slow news week. But Celtic, who are valued at £90 million, are among the top 50 clubs in the world when it comes to brands. I'm sure I mentioned this in the video a couple of weeks ago, but it has reared its head again that Celtic has been recognised for the popularity of the brand worldwide, and they've made it in at number 42 on a global list, following a survey published by Brand Finance, a world-leading brand valuation strategists and consultants. The fact that Man City obviously top it at 1.5 billion, you've got Barcelona, you've got Manchester United, you've got Liverpool, and then you've got Celtic. And guess what? The Rangers aren't there. So Celtic do make the top 50 in one league worldwide. So that's one bit of good news. Is the target man, says Mark. Yeah, that's what I kind of thought. It'd be interesting to see if we do. The fact that Rockin can play in the middle of a back three, it'll be interesting to see if we do go to a back three and we play two up front with either Kyogo and Big O, or Dyson and Big O. So there's a combination that brings you back memories of Hartson and Larsson. So if O can header the ball down to Kyogo or Dyson, so it used to be Thompson, Sutton, Larsson, goal, sin. That was it. And I met Tomo on lots of occasions out here, and he's a cracking lad. He's always out this part of the world. They should be out in about the next month or so, actually. He's usually out then. Anyway, Matt McIntyre says the team's good enough to win the league, but we need a true and tested striker for the Champions League. I think Kyogo was a bit unlucky last season, and I think, if we can get him on form, my big worry for Kyogo is this ongoing shoulder injury. Any more the Dutch lad from Man United? No. The Van Beek fella. There's nothing brewing on that, so I've never heard anything, never read anything. So got a funny feeling at least one of the new Korean boys are going to shine. One of the Korean boys was the best young player in the league. So we basically took the Jota of their league and brought him to Celtic. So let's just not pass judgment. It's pre-season. We always like pre-season. Pre-season is absolute garbage. The games are meaningless and soulless and heartless. and you're watching them and you're going, give me strength. Please give me strength. Anyway, let's get back to some of the comments. Gerard says, hail from sunny Loch Lomond, cracking part of the world just down the road for you in Greenock. It is sunny. Love it says, the club should tell us if they're still on the hunt for new players rather than having fans getting excited with other fake stories that are out there. If the way that these kind of things work, if Celtic were come out and say we're after players, it can push artificially and push up the value of players. It's 38 degrees in Iowa, US of A. It's 32 degrees here in the Costa Blanca in Spain. Let's get back to that one. The fake news stories. There are a lot of stuff going. There's one blog that I see, and Football Fancast, I think it is, and they just put out crap every day, but they put it as an opinion. You know, Brendan Rodgers could sign £25 million player, and then they've got opinion at the end. So it means it's just a little shite. There's no substance to it. The amount of garbage that you read online about Celtic's unbelievable. Who was the last major signing Celtic had? I mean, proper football star, Jota. It's as simple as that. Jota. We've just sold him for £25 million. Celtic are... Anytime Celtic have went out and got what you call a star, right? They've usually been at the end of their career. When you look back years ago and deadline day deals, and Celtic fans would go to Celtic Park for 12 o'clock at night to see your big star come in and get paraded outside the doors at midnight at Celtic Park. And how often did those big stars end up being there for 6 months? Coming in the Christmas, being there for 6 months just to get a payday, just to say the fact that they had played for Celtic. And I think we're past that. Celtic make stars. We are in the process of making stars. Celtic bring players in and we evolve them into future stars. And that's exactly what we did with Jota. I think we need to get this out of our head that we are going to attract it's not back in the early 2000s where we could match the wages that were down south in England. When we brought everyone up when Martin O'Neill brought all the players up from England, they were paid the exact same as what they could have got offered in England. And it was simple as that. They basically came to play for Celtic and they came to play for Martin O'Neill. Simple. Those days are long gone. There's players, average players down south in England getting 100 grand a week. It's crazy. So do we sign a player that's a star that's 100 grand a week and he's mediocre? It's not the way to do it. Larsson, Soapy says, Larsson was the star. We made Larsson the star. We turned Larsson into the player he was. When he had it there, we talked about this the other day in the video that I did. I mean, his first game, a bad pass to the Hibs player scores. Boom. You know, you wouldn't have called him a star then. You'd all been on social media going, who is this donkey with the dreadlocks? You know what I mean? Anyway, James Dillon says, lucky you. How many more do we need? Says David. Hail from sunny Kirkcaldy. There's no way. It's Kirkcaldy sunny. It was bloody freezing when I was home last week. And that was a week ago today that I came back. Anyway, what's happened to the high street? What has happened to the high street? I'd actually video the high street to show the missus, and it's just devastating. I think if Boots goes off the high street, that's it. The high street is dead. Kirkcaldy High Street for 100 years had one of the best high streets in Scotland. And then up since the 90s and 2000s, it's just, ever since when Marks and Spencer's pulled out, that's it. It's just went downhill. Yeah, it's devastating to see the way that... Anyway, forget high streets. We've got 406 people on the live. How many thumbs up do we have? Make sure that you give the video a thumbs up. I'm just going to check. I need to go on. Let me see. Where are we? There we are. We're live. Watching. Oh, there we go. Turn that down a bit. We've only got 64 thumbs up. Come on, guys. Come on, what are you playing at? Get the thumbs up. Hit the thumbs up button. Hit the thumbs up. Right. Switch that off. Don't need to hear my own voice. Right, let's get back to the comments and then we'll talk about some more Celtic news. Let's get back to the fact that Celtic are 42 on a global list of football teams around the world that have absolutely fantastic global brand and finance valuations. Celtic are obviously valued at 90 million, but Celtic come in at 42 and are the only Scottish club on that list. So that's we're top 50 and something worldwide. Celtic have it's just down to our own fans to buy away tickets. Right, Celtic have 60 million in cash and cash equivalents. Yes, they do. They've got a fantastic amount of money in the bank. And we need to spend some of it. We've spent 10 million this season. 10 million from what we brought in from the Jota deal is nothing. Still leaves us in profit. Still leaves us with the 30 million that we were told that we're going to spend. And yes, love it. We got 5 million for Ange Postecoglou. Remember when the robot girl used to call him Postecoglou? That was brilliant back in the day. Hit the like button. Says Ben, hail, the Celtics are here. Another way of getting any more players with the money for the Jota. As I say, there's things obviously going on in the background. We're not going to know anything about it until it's almost a done deal. I think some of the players that have been mentioned are probably wide off the mark as per normal. If we can get, there's two wishes. If it was Christmas tomorrow and Santa was coming, I'd be writing my letter saying, bring us that goalkeeper and bring us Tete. The fact that we can get him freedom of contract now, and that would be it. And that would be all we need as far as I'm concerned. I think the players that we've got, the squad that we've got now, it is all about trimming the squad and making sure that we've got a really nice, tight squad for the season ahead. Another goalkeeper and a centre back would be ideal, says Andrew. Matt Haney, players come to Celtic to become proper stars. They do that. We're not in the market to buy big name stars. We just couldn't afford it. We've been down that road before and it's never been financially successful. The way the clubs run, like it or not, a lot of people don't like the way the clubs run. They see it as sort of the board's penny pinching. The fact that we're in profit, we do need to make a statement of intent signing. And I think it will happen within the last 2 weeks of the transfer market. Disappointing, I know. Well, we're kind of spoiled over the last 2 seasons. Spoiled by the fact that Ange liked to get his business done early. He got his business done early because he was buying from a market where he could get the business done early. You know, he knew that these players, he'd scouted the players well before. Brendan, the most skilled player. Stuart says, I can see at least another signing. I don't think it'll be in the 10 million bracket, more like 6 or 7 million. Hello from the south of France, Stephen. So we've got more from the European contingent in the house. We've got Bulgaria, we've got France, we've also got folk in Ireland and Dublin. Scotland's out the EU, so we can't call you in the EU. And then we have a couple of guys from America also online. Desmond says, how are the day, Barry? Boy, hail. Fine. Had a little run up to Alicante Airport earlier on, so yeah, that was all good. Hail from London, says Misty. Right, let's get back to some Celtic news. And obviously that valuation that Celtic are in is fantastic. Top 50 global brands in the world. That's something not to be sniffed at. The fact that Tete, or whatever you pronounce it, has terminated his contract with Shakhtar Donetsk. He has basically cited FIFA rules that have allowed him to walk away from the club due to the fact that the country has an ongoing war, if you like to call it a war. The Irishman, he's obviously worked with the Irishman Brendan Rodgers before. Brendan Rodgers says he was a good player, but you know, the fact that he is now under freedom of contract, if Celtic weren't to move fast, I think you're going to lose out on him. I think Brendan might have a word in his ear, but you never know. I think we're 2 players away from having a really fantastic squad going into the Champions League that's maybe going to give us that bite we didn't have last year. I think O has maybe got that presence up front that we didn't have last year, that he's not going to get bullied off the ball. God, what is the neighbour doing across the road? You've got to love Spanish. They're absolutely bonkers. The fact that they walk about with hardliners and on. Anyway, a goalkeeper and a guy on free would have done fantastic, and the window's closed. 25 million for Jota, but Benfica got a cut of that. Yes, but you've got to also remember that we paid 6.5 million for him, right? So they get 6 million or whatever. You know, we still make a massive profit. It's still a massive profit. If we've made 18 million profit, you know, there's 18 million that should go straight in at the pot for players, if you ask me. Any other time at Celtic, Matt, I agree with you. The player money that come in, right? If we're sitting with a big pot of cash, we're sitting with Brendan Rodgers and a big bag of cash. Brendan said he wasn't promised a bag of cash. He must have got the tins instead. I think that any other time we would be expecting Celtic to go out and spend £18 million on a player, on a couple of players. The fact that we've spent 10 million already, the board are going to say it's a more successful window. Ange Postecoglou would say we've come out the window stronger. Have we come out the window stronger? Are we currently stronger than we left the window? Tell me that in the comments. Hail from Sydney, Australia. That is it. We're worldwide this evening. We are officially worldwide. We have Australia. We have Europe. All we need is somebody from Africa, and that's it. We've got America, and we've got a few in Europe. So we are worldwide. Get an Asian boy on it would be even more fantastic. Hail to the channel. Right, let's get some more comments. Celtic are one of the best clubs at making money. Most clubs are in debt. Yes, the way that the clubs... Celtic reminds me of the way that Man United used to run themselves when Alex Ferguson first took over. But remember that Fergie got rid of all the big-name players and all the big, expensive wage bills and everything. And everyone said that he wouldn't win the league with a young team, and he obviously went on to dominate the English Premiership. I think that Celtic are in a good place at the moment. We don't want to go and buy a 10 to 15, 20 million pound player that's going to upset the apple cart. But we do need to bring in a player that has a statement of intent. 2 players. You know, bring in a goalkeeper and a winger, and that would do it for me. If we can get... We score more goals from more players last year than probably any other time. If we can bring in players that have got that goal scoring ability, you know, we're going to miss a lot of goals from Jota. So the guys that have come in are going to have to chip in with goals. And that's it. The club are left around 18 million from the Jota deal after being... Yep, I said that already. Tete is out of contract now. Yes, that is the thumbnail. He is out of contract. He basically got his contract ripped up with a FIFA ruling due to the fact of the ongoing situation in Ukraine. Andy Boy says Big O is our target man. Now, something tells me that we will sign another big forward. I don't know if we're going to sign another big forward. I'm not too sure. Buenas tardes from Gibraltar has tuned in. There we go. Another one from mainland Europe. And Rod from Brecon is in the house. Good evening, Rod. We have to keep Kyogo and O together. Bring in another striker. Useless £20 million credit. Right. There's all this talk about another striker when you look at the last couple of games, we've played Dyson through the middle. We're forgetting that Dyson plays a striker for his national team. He's played a striker in Japan. It was only Ange Postecoglou that put him out on the wing. Postecoglou put him out on the wing so that Postecoglou didn't like to play 2 players up front. And what Dyson did do is it gave him that pace. Ange wanted this fast attacking team down the wings, and he had that in abundance. But playing a striker, playing a guy out of position, and you know, that's probably why he didn't score as many goals as people said he should have. He was missing goals. If he's not playing in his natural position, of course you're going to miss goals. It's like playing Lee Griffiths when he was scoring freely for Celtic. It's like playing him out in the wing and expecting him still to score as many goals. Anyway, how many goals do you think that Kyogo will score this season? I think if he can keep fit and he doesn't have to go in for surgery, I think he'll score 30 goals. I think his target will be 30 goals. He could quite easily do that. I think he's going to get a few hat-tricks this year. I think the wide men that we've got coming into the team, I think the Korean boy is going to make you forget about Jota. So there we go. We should be top 10. Due to the financial constraints of Scottish football, Misty James, it's rather unfortunate that we would never get to that heady heights. I think when it comes to turnover and profitability of the club, we're doing quite well. But to get to the heights of top 10, you would have to have a bigger reach around the world. You would have to have a bigger sponsor deals worldwide. And Scottish football just doesn't help at all. even more since the fact that teams are reducing away allocation. It doesn't make it look as good on television. The thing that Scottish football was always renowned for was the atmosphere at games. And I think that atmosphere being taken away, you're basically going to be like a really poor man's English league watching. I mean, there's some, you watch some English games and there's no atmosphere at all. Is that what fans want? You know, you could sit there and, as Roy Keane used to say, the prawn sandwich brigade. And that's what we don't want Scottish football to turn into. Brendan Rodgers will play 2 up, I see. Well, we'll find out tomorrow. It'll be interesting to see his team selection tomorrow. It will be a strong team selection tomorrow. It will be a really tough test for Celtic. It'll be a good test, and I think it'll be interesting to watch. And we'll have, I don't know if we'll do it live after it, actually. See how it goes. I might do it live after the game tomorrow. Andy Boy says it's humbling to be great and loved all around the world. Yes, it is. But mine's excited new signings. Peter Murphy says I'm excited by the new signings. Celtic are on the front foot. Well, Peter, we're never really on the back foot, and that was the good thing about going into this transfer window. Last season, I've said this before, even Ange Postecoglou said it. He said, we don't have to go out and spend a big turnover of players this window. He says, what's the biggest worry this window is the fact that people might come in for our players. Now, people still might come in for Tete before the end of this window. They might not. They might actually give Tete that other shout at the Champions League and see how he performs. And then they might come in for him at Christmas time. You never know. Right. Mark says, at the end of the last game in Japan, you did not see O and Kyogo line up. Looks like they're becoming good friends. You always need that with strikers. You need your 2 main strikers to have a really good knowledge of each other and a good working relationship so that they know, they can have their back turned, and then O will know that Kyogo is going to be making that diagonal run behind him, or he's going to be making that curved run. He'll know the type of run that he does in training. He'll know that, if he's here, he knows to head it this way, he knows to turn with the ball and pass it through to Kyogo. He'll know all this anyway. So hopefully he'll be able to improve on that. Ouija Boy says, in fairness, Baz, you and other fan media had Bernabei written off only a few months ago. Listen, every Celtic fan had Bernabei written off. You've got to put hats off to Greg Taylor. The fact that Bernabei came in, and the money that was spent for him, you were expecting Bernabei to be a first-team player. Greg Taylor went, hold my pint, lad. I'm not giving this shirt away for anybody. Taylor's team talk. Just you hold your wrist and just sit there and wait your turn. Hats off to Greg Taylor for improving his game that much that made Bernabei look bad. Right? Bernabei had come into a brand new country, right? And it wasn't what we expected. They all can't hit the ground running. Like, he didn't have a pre-season with us. He came in at the winter. He only came in January. So let's see what Brendan could do to him and how we can improve him. And I think Brendan will be able to improve him. And yes, every Celtic player said that Bernabei shouldn't have been near Celtic, but that is credit to Greg Taylor. So always believed to be a special player for us, given the chance, and Ange didn't give him the chance. Yes, exactly. Ange kind of, all managers do it. They have their first team favourites that they're going to pick for every game, and then they'll have players that they'll bring in and say, right, we've brought you in, are you as good? But if you've got knowledge of players from years ago, and like what the manager did have when he brought in the Japanese boys, bringing in a guy from the other side of the world, Argentina, he's not going to give him the same benefit of the doubt, let's say. Stephen Kelly, I think we need a better O for backup for Champions League. It's okay having 2 players for every position. And over the last 2 seasons, we've pretty much had 2 players for every position. But when you look at the size of the squad now and the quality, some players have benefited from it, i.e. Greg Taylor. Greg Taylor has progressed absolutely fantastically as a player at Celtic. You've got to remember, it's only a couple of seasons ago, people were wanting Greg Taylor out the door. people were saying that Greg Taylor wasn't Celtic class and that he should probably think about going back to Kilmarnock. So, you know, football fans, as fans, we like to watch our team, we like to comment on the team. And I used to remember it when I went to the football with my brother, and we used to sit and we would sit and analyze the game because at this time we were in the Club Celtic lounge, and you had fantastic views of the stadium, and we would sit. Now my brother played football at a decent level, and we would sit and look at the game, and I would always call the substitutes first, way before him. And I never played football, but when you're sitting in a certain position at Celtic Park, you could see what players are doing good and what players aren't. Anyway, let's move on. Mark Shade Life says, what you missed? You have missed exactly 46 minutes of fantastic banter, fantastic Celtic news, and a hell of a lot of comments from a lot of people. And how many thumbs up are we sitting at? I'll tell you what you missed, Mark Life. You've missed the fact that Tete, the Brazilian, who Brendan Rodgers signed for Leicester on loan at Christmas, is now a free agent. He has become a free agent under a FIFA ruling, and the fact that he basically got his contract ripped up because of the ongoing thing in Ukraine. Celtic are valued at 90 million and are in the top 50 clubs in the world. We have only 154 thumbs up, which is ridiculous because we've got 462 people watching. So if you're on your phone, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Come off the commentary about a minute, give it a thumbs up, and then come back onto the chat section. What else have you missed? What else did we talk about? Tete, we talk about the transfer windows, the way that's went so far, the fact that if we had two players that we're going to bring in, we would bring in the keeper, and we'd bring in the Tete also. Two new signings injured before then. A very poor policy. Yeah, it's a hard one. It's hard to disagree with that or be kind of constructive. You like to be kind of have constructive things to say about the fact that we've got these players injured. But on a good note, they get their injuries out of the way and they're fit for the rest of the season. A bad note, they haven't had a pre-season. So, yeah, let's see. Anthony says, Baz, I think we need a striker come January. The Asian Cup will need to cover for the boys. We said from Belfast, hail. It depends how many of them go to the Asia Cup, because you've got to remember that Kyogo didn't go last year to the World Cup, so it's whether he'll get picked or not. It's 12 degrees. No way. It is not 12 degrees in West Midlands. Oh my God. Right. So I had one guy saying it was 38 degrees in America. It's currently about 30. I've got the air conditioning on. Yeah, it's still on. The air conditioning is still on. And it's 32 degrees outside. The missus and her mate from back home are away out for a swally, as they say. And asked the current Burns about Ramsey. Exactly. Where did Aaron Ramsey end up? Where did they end up anyway? I thought I'd missed the live, says Tam. Tam, you're 48 minutes into it. Where have you been? Ross says, looking forward to being back at Paradise on Tuesday for James Forrest testimonial. First game back at Paradise after the summer is always brilliant, and it's especially for folk that come from outside Glasgow, because you're coming up, and it's whether you're coming up the 74, if you're coming down the M8, you're coming over from the east, you know, wherever you're coming from, and then you drive down London Road and you're heading down to the bus park, or if you're parking down that area, you know, it's just then you're walking up to the ground. What pub do you go to? You know, get a couple of beers before the game. If you go into the Celtic Supporters Club, you go in there, you know, and you meet all your mates that you go to the game, and you meet everyone that you know, and it's fantastic. It's brilliant, and it's something that people that go are very lucky to be able to do that on an ongoing basis, because there's absolutely hundreds of thousands of fans all around the world that would give just crazy money to do it for even one game. I've just turned 50, mate, and I want to see some more European glory. The league's a formality, and I want a Champions League Final 8. Matt, I think Champions League Final 8 is a big push. You would need You would need everything to go your way when it comes to the draw. And I don't think it would be fantastic to see that. Preferably, I'd rather get us a run in Europa. I think it's more our level, but it'll be interesting to see it. I would love to see it as well. I never thought I would see 2003 when we talk about the European glory nights. You think back to the Lisbon Lions, the fact that we did it in 2003 was fantastic. But yes, it is time that we improve, and that's what all Celtic fans want. You know, it's okay. The last 20 years, when we think back to 1998, when we stopped the old Rangers from doing 10 in a row, and it was imperative that year. Wim Jansen came in. You know, being a Celtic fan in the 90s was hard, and especially Tommy Burns had Celtic playing some of the best football, and you know, he just never ever got there. He never managed it. It was heartbreaking for Tommy, heartbreaking for fans that went at the time. But the 90s were just they were just so hard. And when we get to 98, we knew we had to stop it. I never knew. There's another side of that. I mean, I worked at a factory in Kirkcaldy, Nairnsies, and I was just a young lad in my early 20s at that time, and I never knew what sectarianism was. Right, there was no such thing as sectarianism where I came from. There was hardly any Huns where I came from. But the fact that when they started going on their way to 9 in a row, sectarianism through Scotland at a new level. And I felt it in the workplace. I mean, I was threatened in the workplace many a time, just purely for the fact that I was one of the only Celtic fans in the department. So anyway, I think that where we've came in the last 20 years, the dominance that we've had in Scottish football, we should have achieved a bit more in Europe. That's why Brendan Rodgers was brought in the first time round, was to try and progress us in Europe. He didn't really do that. He wasn't given the funds. You know, when he wanted a certain player from Hibs and he didn't get him. And then he went down south and he's went for crazy money then. Just things like that. You know, we should be doing a lot better than we are. A lot of people used to blame Peter Lawwell, the way that he ran the club. You know, there's lots of permutations that you can think about over the last 20 years. But it is time that Brendan has came back. He's more than happy with the way the club has changed. A lot of things that he wanted and suggested that you've got to remember, when Brendan came in, we got that brand new pitch put in that was the same standard as we had done in the Premier League at the time. You know, so Celtic were spending money back then to make sure that we were improving. But we didn't improve fast enough. We never improved fast enough. Celtic always get 2 steps forward and then we take our foot off the pedal. You know, there's a change of manager or something and we take a couple of steps backwards. We don't invest in the team. And then, you know, we still go on. We still got to 9 in a row. But when you think about all the managers we went through in the 9 in a row year to get to 9 in a row, we probably should have been a lot further. And a lot of people say that we should have, when we had them down and we had our foot on the throat of that club, we should never have let it up. And yes, we've digressed again. I thought Joe Hart was he upped his game. Joe Hart is a player that has upped his game, I think, since he's been at Celtic. But you remember, he's at the wrong end of his career. And we really do need a keeper of the Arthur Borich type that's going to come in for a few years, that's a bit sort of crazy, that'll set the fans alight, that'll make sure that he stops goals and helps us dominate the league and is good in Europe. Can't wait. Ross Hail Tam Tierney says, totally agree. Long gone big names. We have a structure and we'll keep it like that. And let's just update the new comments. Sorry, I'm going to jump through the comments because there's loads of them. So let's get up to the more up-to-date ones. Actually, in the house at Nairns' old site. Yeah, I seen that when I was home. They've built a load of houses on the Nairns site. I used to work in the old Nairns, the other side of the railway station, before it was knocked down. And then we obviously moved to the new plant that's still there. But yeah, it was the cushion floor plant that got knocked down, and that's the houses that they're building there now is on the old cushion floor site. And you think about it, Nairns If you don't know what Nairnsies is, it's a marmoleum factory in Kirkcaldy. And about 100 years ago, Nairnsies is probably the equivalent of Microsoft today in the worldwide economy, because they basically sold cushion floor worldwide. It was unbelievable. There's still tunnels to this day that go from the harbour up to the area that's sitting redundant due to the fact that they can't build on it because there's so many tunnels under the ground. And these tunnels used to bring all the jute. The jute used to come from Dundee, and they'd bring the jute up off the boats up through the tunnels so they didn't have to take it through the town. An interesting note for you, right? Back in the day, you used to get a token after your shift at the work. Now, they've probably done something similar at Ravenscraig and in the pits back in the day. But at Nairnsies, they used to get a token for the Path Tavern and used to go and get a pint at the Path Tavern if you worked in the OP plant. So anyway, that's enough about Kirkcaldy and my work history going back a lot of years. Paul Clark says, Hendry Kevin, remember her listening on the Tanny. I have no idea what you're talking about there. Had some night. Let me see what Gareth says. Hope we sign Lajkovic, Mobai, and Tete. We need to trim the squad a bit. We do need to trim the squad, and I think there's a lot of players that are sitting on high wages at Celtic that I don't want to move. And I think the fact that we've already offered to pay off one player's contract and he's wanting to sit still. So, yeah. Where do we trim the squad about? There will be some players that will go out on loan, but the squad is far too big. We need a replacement for Hart as soon as possible. Hart's contract is nearly up. It's up at the end of this coming season. It's up. We need someone in just for the sake of that, but we also need Hart. I would love to see Hart go into the coaching staff at Celtic. I think he'd be brilliant to have on the coaching staff at Celtic. Right. Funny, Brendan wants Carmack's opinion. Let me see. Aaron says, funny that Brendan wanted Carmack's opinion. Clearly didn't fully trust what the suits were telling him. I think that Brendan was quite lucky when he was approached by Celtic and Callum said it was just pure by chance that Callum was in the country and half an hour down the road from him. So, they obviously kept, it's well documented. They've kept in touch throughout the years. We need another holy goalie. Yeah, Brendan was like that with Scott Brown. Brendan's like that with his good ex-players. He does keep in touch with a lot of players and he likes to see how they progress. Let's get to some more comments. Right, let's get to this one. Jim says, bang on Barry, we need a holy goalie. I'd love to see another holy goalie type player come in. I think when we had the holy goalie at Celtic, we were pretty good. We were pretty good. Had a few pints in the Pink in Rotterdam. Great place. Wow, documentary going on today. Yes, there is a bit of a documentary going on today. And we're at 58 minutes. Yes, it is a bit mad. I've not even managed to finish my beer on this one. I might go on a bit longer today because the missus isn't here. She's out with her mate. So let's keep going, as they say. Can't get any more due to health. Games on Celtic. Good show. Let's get Patrick on. I can't get to games anymore, mate, due to ill health. As for the names that get bastards about, I only believe it when Celtic put it up. Great show as always. Yeah, you kind of get a heads up of the ones that are actually going to be done deals. But there's nothing, there's not even a sniff of a decent name just now that might be a reality. It's 20 here in Kirkcaldy. T Hall boy. Hey, T Hall boys. Yeah, madman. Lino sent all over the planet. Yes, it was. Like if it could be our new holy goal. We said at the beginning of the video, if it was Christmas tomorrow, you bring me that keeper and you bring me the winger. And I think with the squad that we've got, those two additions will be fantastic additions that we need for the Champions League. We need a goalkeeper for the Champions League that's going to dominate. Joe Hart is good, but he's always punched the ball away too much for me in his career. When you look at Segrist, he does the same. They should be catching the ball. Lajkovic is a keeper that can go out and can grab the ball, and he when the ball comes to him, it's in his hands, and I think our keepers don't do that enough. Hail says Paul Clark, and let me get some more comments in. Should be then taking the money. McCarthy should be ashamed taking the money and sitting there. calls himself a Tim. That's one of the most bizarre things that's ever happened at Celtic in the last, well, we're into 3 years now. 2 years, just over 2 years since Ange came in. And the McCarthy situation is just absolutely nuts. Surely he's not been injured for the 2 years. If he's injured for the 2 years, Celtic rip up his contract and he retires. I don't know. But, he's an Irishman and they love him for it. So let me see. Hart has done a ton. But this new boy would be a steal and a statement. I think if we go out, you've got to remember, we spent $4.5 million on a keeper that when he played against us, looked good. And he was good. He was good against us. And then when he came to us, it was absolute garbage. But they're on two different levels. And I'm going to actually put my feet up here and get comfy. Because we're getting comfy tonight. That's going on for more than an hour. Right, yeah. I think if we were to get that keeper, it would be a massive statement of intent. The fact that the Fenerbahce deal hasn't went through yet, it hasn't been done and dusted, it just shows you that your old transfer guru doesn't get it right all the time. Let me see what Tete says. The Hunskelper, Lajkovic, AJ. You've got to remember as well, Alistair Johnson and Cameron Carter-Vickers aren't fit yet. It'll be interesting to see how far off they are from the start of the season. AJ is obviously going to be a couple of weeks into the season, but Cameron Carter-Vickers is only going to be a game or two. Rocky, Abada, Awata, Kalmak, Hatate, Tete, if we get on Maida, Kyogo. You've got a 3-3-4 or a 3-5-2 when we're defending. The thing is when you go to defend, the 3 then goes to a 5 if you want. Do you know what I mean? So you've got those options to really tighten up at the back in Europe. Does not worry, Harley scored from set pieces last season. Doesn't it worry that we've hardly scored from set pieces or corners for years. And I think that's one of the disappointing things for Celtic. But there's one thing, when you actually look at the statistics for that, we haven't had as many corners as what we would usually get, suggesting that we're taking more shots, we're taking our time to try and find that perfect pass. And I think that's one thing that does annoy some Celtic fans. Like, take a frigging shot from outside the box. James Forrest used to do it. If teams were camped in, James Forrest would come in for the outside and take a shot from outside the box. Callum McGregor used to do it. Callum McGregor is good for taking a punt from outside. And I've got to say, Turnbull's another player that when under Brendan Rodgers' first time, when teams were camped in, Turnbull would hit a cracking shot from outside the box and there's every chance that he would score. So we do have players. That Stuart Slater put bums on seats. We do have players in the squad already that can do it, and it's going to be interesting. Let's have the conversation tomorrow afternoon to see where we were after that game tomorrow, and where we are after the game, to see the formation that we play, the players that we play, and because obviously he's not going to take any of the squad players that aren't going to be there on a regular basis. He's going to take a really good squad with him tomorrow. And it's going to be a squad that is pretty much going to be there at the start of the league. Let's get to the comments again. While Scotsman, hail. The starting 11 is nigh on impossible to call at this time. It's going to be very, very interesting tomorrow. You couldn't even try and think about it. The Russian league says, the Russian league promises to be a good player. I haven't been impressed with Kuasi Haksabanovic. What happened to him? He's a player that had so much promise, and he just hasn't. Ditch playing out from the back, bomb scared at times. I think playing out the back with Starfelt can sometimes be a bit of a bomb scare. I think if you play at the back for the back three, it's not going to be so much a bomb scare. Bring in that keeper, and it'll not be a bomb scare at all. You've got to remember, Joe Hart's at the other end of his career and he's never played that style before. Joe Hart had to come in and basically relearn the game, relearn the way that we're playing football. Hart, when he first started passing it out, he was just like, my God. He done it in Europe, did he not? And it cost us a goal. When it comes down to playing out for the back, you have to be really sturdy defensively, really solid, and we're not. Many times teams have a go at us and we get ripped open. And that's why I think that there's every chance we might go to a back three so that we can then pull back to a 5 in Europe to make it a bit more hard to break us down. Let's get some more going. Ryan says, can't wait for James Forrest's testimonial. He's been a great servant. And to think that Brendan will play Forrest much more this season. I think he'll get a lot more chances than he did under Brendan. That's for sure. We'll see, but I think it'll be a fantastic squad player. James is going to be a great impact player. James is at the stage of his career where it's all about keeping fit and keeping his speed up as much as he can. Right? He might not have the pace that he had 10 years ago, but what he does is he has that football brain. And to bring that type of player on in the second half, when you might be up against it and you want somebody that's going to have that little bit pace, little player that's a bit direct, that can take on players, especially in the league, and that can also cut inside and take a shot and score goals. I think he'll be a fantastic squad player, and he'll be on the team sheet more than not this season, I would suggest. McGregor. So McGregor met, yes, Brendan and Callum said that in the interview with Callum. Callum was on holiday in the south of France, and then he went to Spain on holiday. He'd had 2 weeks off. He went to the south of France, and then he went. If you watched the interview, Taylor Talk on Celtic TV, where Greg Taylor interviews Callum McGregor, and he talks about him then. And Greg Taylor has a funny little giggle. So it was just pure by accident. It was basically a teacher's pet. It would have been as well saying, "Did you take him an apple, for fuck's sake, Callum?" So I mean, he almost went to that level of sarcasm with him. So yeah, it was pure chance that he was in the same area of Spain, and it was only half an hour apart. Brendan found out that he was on the island because Brendan basically finds out where everyone is, and he phoned him up and says, "Can we meet up for lunch?" And they went to the hotel that Callum was staying at, and they managed to get a private lunch. And he said it was amazing that it actually stayed private for so long due to social media and people with cameras and stuff. But they had a really nice meal that went on for 3 hours. And it was just pure by chance that they were in the same place at the same time. So that's how it all happened. We all thought that maybe Celtic had something to do with it, but they had nothing to do with it. It was before he even accepted the offer to come back as manager. An experienced centre-back, says Andrew, and a goalkeeper. Not a young project. Yes, if we bring in that now 9 million keeper, that's not a young project. That is definitely a goalkeeper that would make sure that your back line was a bit better than what it is just now. We're not better than where we were last season. For over a year, we've been told that we're signing players to improve us in Europe. I'm patient, but it's not happened yet. It's hard to say something like that, John, especially when we haven't seen the South Korean boy. The 2 South Korean boys, they're meant to be really good. That's a bit like saying we haven't improved, and then Jota comes into the team and he's fantastic. Let's get the first couple of games out of the season out of the way, and then see where we are. And then if we need to go into the transfer market, I think that's what Brendan will do. But you don't know. It's probably there could be a signing next week for all we know. Command your box. Yes, we do need a keeper that commands the box. Having a keeper that comes out and punches the ball, comes out and talks to defenders. I think Joe Hart's maybe an older type of school player where he played in teams where he had good defenders around him that defended their box. That's where the players that we've got, but then with the crosses that come in, we never had such a big team. The fact that we've now got a bit of height about our team, hopefully we'll be able to command our box a bit better. Hart's not even a good shot stopper these days. No, he's at the wrong end of his career to be a good shot stopper. Brendan Rodgers specifically asked for a meeting with Calmac. He said so. Yes, that's what I said. If you watch the interview with Greg Taylor and Callum McGregor on Celtic TV. Hello from Bolivia. Where's that about? Hail, Stephen. Welcome to the party, as we say. We need another centre-back. We've signed one. Celtic have been linked with Javier again. I don't know if that one will go through or not. I don't know. Will we go for another defender, even though, you know what Celtic's like? If they thought that the Javier deal was slipping away, they then went out and got Rocky. So I think we might have missed out on him. That's just my thinking behind it. You know what Celtic are like. That's generally the way that they go. If they go for one player and it doesn't look like they're going to get him. They're just going to change just like that and say, right, we can get this guy, we can get him now, and he's up for it. So, yeah. Alexander says we need another centre back. I know we've signed one. Celtic have been linked with Javier. We've just had that talk. We should pay McCarthy off and use the wages for a player that can actually rely on. Yes, I think that also it's a really strange one with James McCarthy, and it's a shame because we signed him far too late in his career. And that goes to the comments at the start of the video. Should we sign a big name player, a big star? And when you look back over the years, over the last 20 years at Celtic, and we've brought in big stars at the Christmas transfer window, players that were at the tail end of their career, but were big stars. They only came for the payday and for the fact that it's put on their CV that they played for Celtic. Sometimes it's not a good deal. Celtic make stars. Remember, Scott Bain used to take corners repeatedly for Paki Bonner to take the highest point. Yep. Don't see anything like that. Yep. And let's get some more comments. There's loads of more new comments just come in. Our set pieces are honking. They are that. When you think that'll be the misses, and you not finished your live yet. And on cue. See that? Yep. And they're sitting drinking wine. And they're eating. Hold the bus, man. Wait a minute. They're sitting eating tapas, and I'm sitting here. Come on, lads. Jesus. That's no cricket at all, is it? Anyway, Big Joe Hart is a legend, but his time is coming to an end. Yep, it is that. And you don't want him to play on like a keeper that's past his best and just be there because of the guy that he is. I think it should be Joe Hart's last season at Celtic as a player. I think going forward, it'd be fantastic to get him on the coaching staff. Starfield. Let me see what this one says. Starfield, Effie Ambrose apprentice. Oh, that's harsh. That is really harsh. Right, wait till I send her a voice message. That is really harsh. Come on. Effie Ambrose won the Ballon d'Or. I'm just wrapping the video up now. Did that even send? No, it didn't even send. I'm just wrapping the video up now. There we go. Right, let's get some last. Jesus, there's some amount of folk just come on. What's happening, folks? From Chorley. I knew a girl from Chorley once. Cracking lass. Cracking part of the country. To play it from the back, every player needs to be technically amazing. Yes, they do. You see a lot of teams. I mean, a lot of teams. They called it Ange Ball last season, but you're actually seeing a lot more teams play the way that Ange Postecoglou did. So in Europe anyway, and down south, defending away from home has to improve. And I take it you're talking about in Europe, John Kerr. Definitely, it's a place we've spoke about, and Brendan will know that. And I think that's why he's making the decisions to bring in the players that he's brought in. Right, Tam Gemmell took a shot. Yeah, at least Tam Gemmell took a shot. Looking forward to visit the new Tete. And I wrote "Go bust." Right, I'm going to skip right down to the bottom of the comments. Big thumb, get the thumbs up. That's you tell. What am I missing here? Get her told, Barry. Aye, get her told. What is she doing? Sending me pictures of them sitting eating, man. I mean, I'm having my dinner, and she's on white wine. Jesus, surely her mates here, drinking white wine. She never drinks white wine. It's usually Tinto de Verano. Anyway. We are 1 hour and 14 minutes into the game. Hopefully, Ralston is better than last season. Hail from Holland. Big up the Holland. What about you in Holland, Christopher? I think you've told me that before, haven't you? I've got a couple of mates who stay in Holland. And there's just a new Dutch bar opened here, actually. Completely weird, because there isn't a lot of Dutch people come here. But yeah, and the worst of it all, it was an Irish bar, right? O'Connor's by the sea. Nice little Irish bar. The Irish guy, Celtic, he went and moved away to Italy with his missus, because his missus was Italian, and a Dutch guy bought it and turned it into a Dutch bar. Who the fuck does that? Who turns a decent Irish bar into a Dutch bar? Anyway, needless to say, I won't be back in it. Right, let's get some of the last comments. You mean get the white out? Wine, I mean. Oh dear, the days are long gone for me doing that kind of stuff, mate. A marquee signing. Marquee signings regarding goalkeeper situation. Can you honestly see Celtic paying 8 million? Yes, if we could pay 4.5 million for Barkas, right? Who was, let's face it, crap. And if you want to bring in a keeper that's going to be the next holy goalie, without what keepers are worth these days. A good keeper is worth 8 or 9 million. If Celtic can get this guy, get him in the door. We might only have him for a couple of seasons. And Baz, you're competing with Clyde Fonan. What happened? Why are you listening to Snide FM? Jesus, why would you even listen to Snide FM? And anyway, Snide FM's going on to YouTube in 2 weeks' time. Hurry up, I'm going out. Right, that's it. We're done and dusted. We need a 10 million keeper. We're at that level, so let's get it done. St. Pauli goalie, players that do up pussies. My mind's out. Come on, sir. You need the sport and some Celtic gear. Right, I'll get some more. I wear Celtic gear all the time. I'm going out to the pub in about 5 minutes. So that's why I've not got any on. I'm going to be late for Mass now. Do you know what? They have Mass here every day of the week. See, when you're in an actual Catholic country, my God, what a difference to the way that you see the religion. You feel cheated the way you're brought up Catholic in Scotland. Anyway, Jim White got ripped apart this morning. Like if actually is worth 8 million all day long. He's a creation regular. So on that note, it's been fantastic having everyone on the channel. We're still at 385. People are dropping off now because they know that I am leaving the building. Let's get the outro video ready. We're done and dusted for the night. So have a great evening, Celtic fans all around the world.
Lit, roll up to the party, pull up.